Everybody. We are live on Facebook. This is Tiara International, and I'm Betsy Sobiech, one of the Tiara Global Leaders. And with me today is Andrea Henning, calling from the Netherlands. And it's funny because you and I are both not in our normal spots. Well, I'm not sure we have normal spots, to be honest.
We don't. I mean, the least normal spot I did one of these webinars was my car, but that was a one-timer. It looked so awful. Once we recorded it back. Yes, but it's nice that when I look at your window, it's day, and you look at my window here.
Yeah.
So that's
it's true. It's true. It's like smack dab in the middle of the day here. I'm in Kentucky, so almost 11:30 actually, 12:30, 11:30 in Chicago. See, I don't even know where I am. That's how it's been. So for those of you who are familiar with us, you know that we are Tiara International, and we are a women's leadership development organization that provides leadership development of all kinds: individual coaching, executive coaching, professional development programs, mentorship programming, speaking engagements, virtual programming, which we're very excited about. And today we are talking about a topic that actually we don't talk about that much. We're talking about love. So it's February 1st. Sometimes that's considered the month of love in some way because of Valentine's Day and that kind of thing. And there are some people who are definitely in our line of work, organization development consultants, leadership coaches, who put love front and center in what they do, like lead from love, do what you love. And we really haven't, as a brand, done that. We talk a lot about leading from inspiration. We talk a lot about, our model as far as like acceptance of yourself, others, and circumstances as a way to navigate from a place of compassion. But we rarely talk about love. Why do you think that is, Andrea? Why don't we talk about love that much?
I really don't know. I think that it's kind of inherent in all what we do. You know how tell a fish what water is? That it's so kind of out of the question. I haven't had love as a value on my list of values for years until I knew, like, it's my middle name, but why isn't that on the list? It's kind of I think it's might be our blind spot, more or less.
Oh, that's interesting, because I would say that I feel present to love quite a bit. I mean, I would even say I love my colleagues, I love my clients. I feel lucky that I get to do work that I believe in, but I probably don't describe it that way very often, because I don't know why. I think sometimes I resist coming across as maybe a little emotional, or maybe a little like not professional if I talk about love too much or something like that. So there could have been that, particularly when we started the business 10 or 12 years ago. And our brand name, Tiara, already was questioned sometimes as being feminine. And we chose the brand name Tiara because of, the symbol of the crown, and the symbol of power that you're born into, and the symbol of also, being a little bit lighthearted with the tiara, not being so serious and heavy about everything. But it really is about knowing that you have power that you're born into, and you can sort of claim your sovereignty, whatever that might look like. But we had a lot of questions, especially at the beginning, about if the name was too feminine or too girly or not serious enough. And so I think at the beginning, when we were really defining some of how we described who we are and what we do, we strayed away from some of that language as well. Do you know what I mean? So that we could really find ourselves in the leadership development space and the professional development space, and not get left out, or not have companies want to work with us because they were looking for something more serious than what we do. Because I think at the end of the day, whether you're an individual client working with us or a large company, you probably do get the experience of love in some way, but you also do get like some kind of result that you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a fantastic new book by Adam Kahane. It's called The Power of Love. And also when he wrote it, because he's all about scenario planning, about really the serious stuff, and also back in the days. And he was, when you listen to his TED Talk, he also talks about that this book then comes under relationships somewhere there. But what he really means is that the one cannot be without the other. So power without love, or love without power, both of them, and he describes it a lot better than I could ever do, but it's the balance between the two of them. And from the both of them, power is more like the masculine trait and love the more feminine. And then when it comes to our line of work, often we are categorized under soft skills, where there's already a word that is kind of crippling. So I think maybe we shied away a little bit from that. Yes.
And I think even personally on my own journey, if I think about it, like probably talking more about love and open-heartedness and things like that, it's a good place for me to go and to be, and not just be sort of analytical and in my head or trying to prove something, but to be just more, because I also feel love as being more in that being space, like really connecting to the people that we care about, the spirit of the work, the essence of what's possible, being in the present moment, appreciation, gratitude, like all that stuff to me feels like what I identify as love and being part of that. But I do think I can stretch myself and just call it that instead of calling it other things like in my life, and really just being aware of how much love there really is in my life. And I think there are two other places that come to mind. So I do think that we have worked a lot on the fact that people need to source their own sense of appreciation for themselves, whether it's love or inspiration or motivation or purpose. That our model is an inside out model where we know that the source of that comes from within or from the broader, energy of the universe, but that we're not getting it from somebody else. And I think that's important. Like even if we go towards like the Valentine's Day sentiment or something like that, that we really work ourselves on our journey and with all the people who cross our paths with like, how do you acknowledge yourself first? How do you appreciate your own self? How are you clear on how to take care of yourself and have compassion for yourself so that you're feeling fueled and loved without anybody having to do that for you? And I think that's a really essential element in leadership development because, they say it gets lonely at the top, even though you're surrounded and more visible than lots of people. Yeah, so you're not, so in order to kind of balance that out, I think having that really quality relationship with yourself is important. So I think love is important in that way for our business, is having people really feel that sense of love and compassion for themselves, no matter what the circumstances are they're facing.
Yes, exactly. And on a more practical note, and I am involved in these processes all the time, like how people treat each other. It's amazing, especially under stress, how, and it depends on your character, how we treat each other, passive aggressive, or people really get angry and loud and all that. And it's so understandable when you have this high stress level, but at the same time, you see the other party or shrinking or detaching, or so there is no connection anymore. And I would also say that maybe if we wouldn't call it love, it's this innate knowing that there's a human being at the other, whether it's someone at the help desk that cannot help you, or the cashier, or someone in your team, maybe who has done a mistake, but that there's a human being actually. And by the word love, it's a lot easier to see the other as a human being.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. So it starts, with appreciating, accepting, and taking care of yourself in a way that's very loving. And only then can you really be even present to your work, to your family, to those around you in a very full way. And then that does ripple effect into then how do you treat other people? And can you just appreciate that there's a person over there, and just from that basic way, treat people from a place of love and kindness and compassion. For sure. And then I think that it continues to expand from there. And I think we do get this question a lot from people, which is, do you really love your work? Like, you guys have started this business and now it's been around for, over 10 years. Is it something you love? And then we also get the question, can a person really do what they love? Like, is that a thing you can really, really do? Or is that sort of a pipe dream? Or how does that map onto responsibilities or obligations and that kind of thing? And I think that's an interesting question because I think one thing we do really well as a business is we never make too perfect of a picture. And I don't think it's one dimensional. Like, I don't think it's like you follow what you love and then it's really all super easy all the time and it's this whole other plane of existence. Like, sometimes people follow what they love, whether it's a marriage or having children or living in a place they love or starting a business, and it comes with a lot of hardship, but that doesn't mean it wasn't sourced from love. You know what I mean? So I think there's also this misunderstanding that if you follow love, then it's easy.
Yes, exactly. And it's actually also that love needs to be pink, the pink color. And it's not. And actually, when you really get into the source of what you love, you also feel the power to pull through. And I mean, all the people who have kids, for instance, they know that even if you wanted it more than anything else, and even if maybe for some people was hard to get them, once you have them, you think, oh my God, is that what I wanted? So, and this is practically for everything. It's a new job. You get what you love, but remember what is the core of that love, which is not pink, which is also powerful, helps you to pull through. And I think also when you look at the younger generation, one of the things that we as parents might not have done perfectly is like, you should do what you love. And they get the idea that it never should be hard, or, oh, I don't like that, so I bail out. Or so it's also the resilience part that you need to, and therefore, how fantastic is it to pull through and manifest something that you love? Because something that you love starts with an idea. It doesn't mean that it's there, but then the joy, once you have manifested it and you are living what you have thought of, what you loved, that's these two things. It's the dream and the manifestation. And then also the way to get there, you need your power and you get your resilience, and you learn your lessons, and that whole thing is called life.
Yeah, and I think that also encourages people, like, if you're in a moment where you feel like, wow, I dreamt this and it came from my heart and it came from something that I love and now it's here, like, you really want to stop in those moments and be like, wow, like this thing I dreamt, this place that I followed my heart to, this vision that I had, like, and yes, it'll pass and there may be another hardship or another struggle or another challenge, or you might even change, like we talked about that too, like you might even change what you want or what you desire. But in those moments where it does come together, to not second guess it or not apologize for it or anything, but just to be really present to, like, oh yes, like I followed my heart and it wasn't always easy, but it led to this, and in this moment I can have full appreciation for myself and wanting to get there, and that this came from love.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually you need a lot of courage to follow what you love also, because imagine you have found something that you really, 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 really love, and there are a lot of things that we love. Just let's talk about dogs, for instance. They live shorter than we. So there comes a moment that you need to say goodbye to something that you really love. So sometimes it's easier not to love so much, because then it doesn't hurt so much if you lose it. So also like having this love more flow as a general energy than being attached to a person or a thing or a job or anything. It also takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, and it takes that awareness. Like, sometimes I will say, like, I'd rather be in a situation where I have a broken heart than never have, like, my heart break open wide, or something like that. Like it's not like I want to choose pain and suffering, but I don't want to avoid the experience of being fully alive or loving to avoid pain and suffering. And it does kind of seem to come hand in hand. And the other thing I would say that there's a thing that people say about love sometimes that actually sort of bothers me. So and you may even disagree. I don't know what you think about this, like when I say it. So sometimes you'll also hear like in the inspirational quotes or things like that, that not only should love always be pink, or if you follow what you love, then it'll all be like rainbows and unicorns or something. They also sometimes say that you have to choose between either love or fear, right? And I feel like, yes, you want to be motivated, like as far as your choices come from your heart and what you love, what you're passionate about, what you value, as opposed to making your choices from a place of being afraid or being like you have to defend yourself or prove yourself. Like as far as those strategic choices, I understand how you would want to source that from a different place. But I have to say that some of the times I felt most like in love with the world or a person or life, I've also been afraid, like at the same time. And so for me, it doesn't feel like it's an either or, love or fear. Like sometimes it's like love and fear. And then I have to like say, okay, is the fear telling me something important that I need to listen to? Or is the love really, the leading edge here? But moving forward towards something you love, even while you feel afraid or nervous, I think that's part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I had a talk with my daughter yesterday about it, that we have been, my life is a little bit longer than hers already, but she really does some courageous stuff. And then, for instance, when you call and she's selected for an audition, like she's thrilled, and then like, oh my God, I have to do it. And then and we could agree on experiences where actually when we were about to be in that thing that we were thrilled and loved to have, like we were terrified at the same time, and we were thinking like, oh my God, how could I have been so stupid and want this or do this, huh? And then with that, like pulling through, so that at the end of the day, like the benefit from having done this is bigger than what it cost you in terms of fear and pain. And that's also not even always the point. Sometimes we think that it's the jackpot, and it wasn't, and then we have to come to terms with that too. And I think all these kind of things is like about awareness, to not wipe anything away. Like having the most fantastic assignment in South Africa, and for me, for instance, and having slept through a safari because it was too demanding for myself, was really a wake-up call. Like I wanted it so much, and I just gave too much of myself, and so the experience, when you make up the sum total, was not a good one. Was not worth it in a way. And then but it was a dream come true to have an assignment abroad and go for a safari again, see elephants. I mean, I woke up to see the elephants actually, but all these things like become aware of it, and do you have someone to talk about it? To talk about it with an open heart, so that you can make sense out of your experiences, so that it doesn't shut you down next time, but also prevents to do something that you might not have been such a good idea.
Well, the other thing that's really important that I'm hearing in what you're saying is that if you follow what you love or follow your heart or something, and then it turns out badly, there's nothing wrong with you or the decision. It doesn't mean you made a mistake, or that you can't trust yourself, or that you can never trust yourself again. You know what I mean? Like there is always a lesson learned around like, oh, what was that? Was that my heart, or was that something else? Or what could I learn from that situation? Or how do I go more in the direction of what I know I want now and avoid some of the things that I don't want in my life anymore? So it's really an iterative process, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or not a smart person, or that something you did was wrong when you end up in a situation where it's like, wow, this is not what I expected. Now, sometimes you may know, like, you know what, I didn't trust my instincts, or I did this for the wrong reason, or something like that. But when we follow our hearts, we may end up in a scary place that we didn't know we were going to go. And we may have lessons to learn from that place, but we shouldn't use that as a way to minimize ourselves.
Exactly. And that's the most difficult part also with my clients, and also with myself. Like we have been become pretty good in deciphering, like, did I follow my gut, or did it came from somewhere else? If you peel it down to the beginning. But there are situations where I really can honestly say there was nothing, no warning sign. It was just the one thing that I needed to do. And then it turned out really, really hard. and then not to go to, oh, can I trust my instincts? Because when you go that road, then it becomes really dangerous. And again, then looking at it with someone in a different way, taking different takes on it, like what could it then mean? And in these kind of situations, I always have talked about it before, the word collateral beauty. So even if something like with my South Africa adventure maybe didn't turn out the way that I would love it to turn out, but there was so much collateral beauty there, and then you can kind of open your heart again to your experiences also.
Yeah, and we don't always know again what builds on any experience.
Exactly.
So yeah, and as I'm listening to this, I just feel like I'm just reminded again that I think in storybooks, whether it comes to how you start a business or how you fall in love and start a marriage or relationship, it just feels more one-dimensional, like you just love one thing or one person, or it's so clear, and then after that the road is so smooth and easy. But what I'm reminded of in this conversation is I just think it's multi-layered and multi-dimensional, that you love and you go in that direction, and then you have whatever experiences you have to grow, and then you keep on loving and go in the new direction. But it's not just like, it's not an end game, I guess. It's not like you make one decision from love and then everything is all buttoned up for the rest of your existence or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. There's one thing, and I've actually read that in a book, and it made total sense, that when you really love or you fall in love with something or someone, it really opens your heart, and it's a wonderful feeling. And when then that thing is taken away from you, the painful thing is that because your heart is open, you cannot go back to the person you were. Mm-hmm. So the only way is through. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you were before, and I have that also when I had my children, like when they were babies, like you have a before and after. And like, I mean, I was perfectly fine five months before or a year before without that thing. And then when it's there, like the sheer idea to lose it, and unfortunately this thing of course happens to people, like you cannot go back to where you were before. So there's also some kind of danger to open your heart, because then you're vulnerable. But not living with an open heart, not having had these experiences, is just missing out on the very essence of life.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned one thing. I just want to ask your opinion on it, because you said something about your gut. So do you think it's different to follow your gut or follow your heart? Do you think of those things as different, or do you think of that as similar? Because obviously following your head is sort of like logic, mm-hmm. but following your heart is a little bit like desire mm-hmm. and vision in a way. And following your gut, well, how would you describe following your gut?
Yeah. There is this thing about emotions. This is really interesting. Like, and especially I see that, I hope our female listeners will forgive that, but I see that in women more than in men, that kind of they confuse intuition and emotion. So we need to be very aware of our emotion. And you can have a terrible emotion about something, but then you have to analyze what's the facts behind that. So we have the facts, then we have the thoughts about the facts, the story about the facts, and then we have the emotions. So and because emotions also, you feel them in your heart, or they are more linked to the heart, like decisions made upon emotions might not be always really coming from love. Whereas I think that the intuition, there are some signals in your gut, and that then I think when we learn to have the gut and the heart work together, then we are, and then of course the head also, like the three of them. But I think the gut is a very nice one to not come from emotion, but getting more into your intuition. And I think eventually, because we're talking about love, like, I don't know if you know, sometimes a gut feeling is like joy more, which is also a vibration of love. But you can also the gut feeling have like, this is not a good idea. Then also that's also the gut is telling you, but maybe your emotions tell you something else. So
Yeah, I like the idea. Like it is a whole system. You've got your mind, your heart, your gut, your body, all that stuff works together, and you don't want to discount any. You want to have them all interrelated. And I do think for me, I feel like the heart is more like the emotion and the desire and the vision, and the gut is more like the instinct, a little bit like the litmus test of like good idea, bad idea, like kind of they all do sort of work together. It's interesting to think about for sure.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
how
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, like again, as I started, this is Tiara International, and we are a leadership development company. Our tagline is "Lead from Inspiration." So, I think at the end of all of this, what we would always go back to is that being aware enough to, first of all, love and appreciate yourself, so you feel nourished and fueled, and that you are confident and empowered just in your own relationship with yourself is a really important aspect of leading in your family, leading in your community, leading in your work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do believe that strategic choices about what you want to do for your work or how you want to lead your team, what you want to be known for, what goals you want to go for, coming from a place of inspiration or love or purpose, even if it is scary, still feels like the thing that has your life unfold in a way that feels really fulfilling and exciting. And when we get stuck making decisions purely from, analysis or fear or trying to be right about something or protect ourselves, like that's when we might feel a little bit more regretful in certain situations. So hopefully you can tell from our dialogue, it's not like a black and white either or thing. Yet we do love, not only for individuals, but for companies and for teams and for anyone we work with, to really grow in their ability to come from a place of what we would call love in their most important decisions.
Exactly. And there's one thing that I would like to add to that is that there's also the word tough love. And again, as a parent, like sometimes the most loving thing is to say no, and then be really hated for it also, and endure that. So there is this angle of love that is so powerful. And I think it was the film about Ray Charles. Was that yeah? That's such an example of tough love, that his mom made him toughen up, and he would not have become the person that he was with his blindness without the tough love of mom. And if you watch that, you see really I think the most what touches me most about love is that sometimes you need to be strict. It's the toughness of it, and it's for the best of the other, even if you are rejected for it. And it's the purity.
Also, sometimes with your own self that can be applied, like I was at a yoga ashram once, and one quote that really stuck with me was about freedom, not love in particular, but I think it makes sense. It was like, true freedom is the freedom to not do what you want to do. So tough love is being with other people yourself, also willing to not just like totally bend over backwards or give something or instant gratification or whatever it might look like. It's not, love isn't about like feeling good in just that moment and only that moment in spite of the bigger picture. Like tough love or true love or purposeful love, it's that broader, like you're willing to do what it takes for the bigger picture, no matter what. And sometimes that might not be like the quick fix or the easy decision or the thing that feels good in the moment, but it's still coming from love. And so it doesn't mean if someone doesn't like fulfill your need in that moment, they don't love you or they're not a loving person. It just means that there may be a bigger thing going on there.
Exactly.
Or something. Yeah, so interesting. So I do wish you a happy February here on February 1st. And for those of you who are watching, if you like this dialogue, again, we're Tiara International. You can like our Facebook page. We're live on Fridays, somewhere around this time, give or take a few hours. And they're also reposted on Facebook and on our YouTube channel as well. So Facebook, we have a Tiara page, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So you can follow us there. And our website is tiara-leadership.com if you would like to learn more about what we do for our work, which we do love. At the end of the day. All right. Thank you, Andrea. It was great to be with you.